So this is how my bus journey began, and this is how it ended up going.
Take the chains on and I'll be off.
Alright. So the purpose of this trip was to take the bus to get some work done. The plan has always been to restore Unit 23, but I know little about restoring a vehicle, especially one of this size. So earlier this year, through the power of YouTube, I connected with a gentleman by the name of Ross who has a YouTube channel called Rolling Living. He owns quite a few classic buses and other vehicles, and we talked about what would it take to restore a vehicle like this. And his suggestion was to start with things that are safety related, which seems like common sense, but it's good to hear it from someone else as well. So he talked about making sure things like you had new tires and new brakes, and that the engine was in good working order. So over the last few months I've been talking with the garage about getting some of this work done, and they were intrigued by the project and sent over 2 mechanics to the house so that they could take a look at the bus and get a better sense of what the project was, and had some pretty good insight on what should be focused upon and, you know, other suggestions that they had. So today was going to be the day that I was actually going to be able to get around to take the bus to their garage. It's, you know, it's a balancing act of when are they available and when do I have time off from work. And today was that day. So like most other days, when we're going to take the bus out, easy enough, connect the batteries, fire it up, let it warm up, let it air up, and then begin the journey. Alright, so this is the trip to finally get Unit 23 some mechanical work done. But almost immediately after pulling it onto the road, I encountered a problem. The bus, when it was approaching about the shift point, somewhere about 20 miles an hour, the engine just shut off. There was no hesitation, no struggling, it just literally went quiet. So my friend Kevin was following me in his truck, so he was able to jump out real quick, restart the bus from the back because my front start button wasn't working, unfortunately, today. But anyway, he got the bus started, and then, I don't know, a couple 100 yards down the road, same thing happened. Did the same thing. So then I guess just to prove to myself that this actually was a recurring problem after twice, we restarted the bus, and sure enough, it happened again. So within less than a mile, the bus had shut down the engine 3 times. So I made the decision to limp the bus to a nearby business down the road that had a pretty sizable parking lot. I knew that if I kept the bus below that 20 miles an hour, that whatever was triggering the shutdown wouldn't trigger it again. And that was the case. So I was able to limp the bus there and get it off the road. So I took some laps of the parking lot trying to see if I could recreate it. I just couldn't get up enough speed, I think, to hit that trigger point that was shutting the engine down. Eventually I did. I found a straightaway, and sure enough, it just shut down. And then at that point, I just needed to tow the bus. Now, I'm sure there are those of you out there who are a lot more mechanically inclined than myself who would say, oh, all you need to do is this or that. Well, I'll admit, I don't have the skill set to do that troubleshooting here. And a big thing is, I was kind of on a pretty tight timeline between my availability, the garage's availability. I just didn't have the time to spend an hour or two trying to figure it out. So the tow is the easiest thing. Not the cheapest, I'm sure, but it was the easiest thing for me to get the bus to the garage. So somewhat ironically, the bus was en route to get all of this work done and ended up breaking en route to getting the work done. So not really how I wanted to start my journey. So my other bus, Unit 67, which is the new look, it's been dead for a long time now, going on 2 decades. So it's been towed several times, getting it from different parking spots and eventually into our outbuilding. So the outfit that I've used is F&S Automotive out of Manaway, Ohio. And it turns out that the driver of the truck was the driver that towed 67 at least 2 other times, maybe 3 times during his several moves over the years. So he was actually pretty excited to tow my other bus. So I was happy to oblige. So if you haven't seen a wrecker like this pick up a bus, the first step that he does was go through and try to find the right fitting, if you will, that will let the wrecker's arm kind of seat into the bus's frame so he can pick it up. So once he figured that out, he picked up the bus and then started, with numerous straps and chains to kind of lock that in. And then once that's done, they need to pull the axle out, so basically disconnects the wheels from the transmission this way that there isn't any exertion put on the transmission while you're rolling down the road. So remove the bolts, a quick couple hits with the sledgehammer, and it kind of pops out the axle so he could remove that. We set that inside the bus. And then he put a cardboard plate, if you will, basically fit it over top of the bolts and then tightened it down with the bolts to kind of prevent any unwanted dirt or anything getting inside of the axle while it was being towed. And then the last step was to connect up his lighting on the back of the bus so that when, obviously when he brakes and turn signals and all that stuff, that drivers behind it can see him. It's kind of a neat system. There's some sort of wireless connection that he has connected to his truck, so he doesn't have to wire it in directly. It just, through some sort of Wi-Fi system or Bluetooth system, kind of connects that way. So that's kind of neat. And after that was done, it took maybe 20-30 minutes for him to get the bus set up. He took a quick lap around the parking lot so we could exit directly and get out onto the road. So we jumped in our vehicle and followed him out. your thoughts on bus ownership?
That is planned, so.
Rarely does it seem to go as planned, does it?
That's, yeah.
We're quite the pros of towing buses now.
Yeah. But we don't really do it.
Yeah, well, we have them towed, yeah.
Like calling.
That's right. Well, at least we're on our way. If you're not familiar with the geography of Northeast Ohio, there's what we would call a significant valley between, or just south of Cleveland that runs south with the Cuyahoga River. And I live on the east side of it, the garage I was going to on the west side, so jumping on the turnpike, the bridge took us right over the top of that. Beautiful fall day with still some callers left and a very nice blue sky. So we were able to beat the driver to the garage, and we were able to figure out where they needed to put it. And so he was able to easily back the bus into its current parking spot, waiting for the mechanics to get to it. Unhitched it from the tow truck and put the axle back in, and we kind of set it up there. I was able to talk to some of the mechanics just to kind of give them a quick breakdown on how the bus starts and all that stuff, little quirks that it has, but that was it. So the next step will be probably in the next couple weeks. They said they would bring it into the garage and do a last inspection on it, trying to figure out a few other parts that they need to come up with the price and parts list. And then once that's done, the work will begin in earnest. So at this point, I'm thinking it's going to be the first part of 2022 before that work gets begun. And then who knows how long it'll take. But honestly, it's the middle of winter in Northeast Ohio. I'm not anxious to get the bus back. I don't need it, but it'd be nice by the time spring and everything kind of warms up, the project will be done, and we'll be able to bring it home. So I'm going to try to do what I can to capture the work that they do to the bus through video and pictures, and I'll show them here on YouTube. So if you're interested, stick around, and hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching.